Great. Well, thank you so much for the wonderful intro. I can jump in here and just say hello. Thanks for being with us today. As from the intro, you could hear that we both work for the University of Nebraska. But today we're just going to be giving a general overview of U.S. university systems and how you make your decision in taking your next steps towards deciding on a college. And so again, my name is Will. I will pass it over to my colleague here, Erika, to introduce herself as well.
Yes, thank you so much for having us here this evening. And as was already said, I am the Assistant Director of the Global Strategies Office. And one of the things that I have done for the last 6 years with this office is worked with our sponsored international students. I know a number of Omani students in particular apply for the Ministry of Higher Education scholarships. So I have a lot of experience working with that. We have our email addresses here. So if you have questions, even after the presentation, you are always welcome to reach out to either of us.
Awesome. And some of the information that's covered in this session, you might have heard some of it in the session that was just previous to this one. But again, we want to help with this process as you decide on a U.S. university. So again, if you have any questions, either ask them during this session, be thinking of them as Erika and I are going over these topics, or feel free to send us an email in the next couple of days here and we can help you out with any questions you have. The first topic that we are going to jump into is just more of a broad overview of what types of U.S. colleges are even out there. So the first big difference that you're going to see when you're applying to institutions in the United States is public universities versus private universities. So public universities are generally going to be sponsored by the state governments within the United States. So they'll be funded a little bit differently than private universities, which are normally funded, like the name says, privately. So that is the biggest difference between those two. And oftentimes that leads to a difference in a couple different things. That could be cost, that could be scholarships that are available, and that could be the size of the college too. Generally, public universities are a little bit larger, but not always the case. But most of the time, they are a little bit larger than private universities. And that goes into the next point, which is large colleges versus small colleges. There are tons of different types of colleges in the United States, and it will vary in size quite a bit. There will be colleges that have 40,000 undergraduate students, and there will be colleges that have 4,000 undergraduate students. So pay attention to those numbers as well as you are applying, and really look at a school that you would be most comfortable with when it comes to size. One thing to keep in mind is a lot of larger universities, the size can be intimidating, but there's a lot of opportunities to make those colleges feel smaller too. Just because there's 40,000 students on that campus does not mean there will always be a crowd of people. Oftentimes it just means that they spread over more land, that they have a larger graduate student presence or online presence as well. So pay attention to the numbers that are coming with undergraduates enrolled on campus as well. A liberal arts college, which you might not know as a liberal arts college all the time, but what this means, if you see this ever, is it is committed to a wide range of topics covered throughout your educational career at this university. So it may be the case that you don't major in something as specific as you do in a different university. You might just major in something that is a little more open, and you take a wider range of courses throughout your time in college. And then a research university is a university that is, the professors at that university are usually doing research outside of the classroom in the field of their specialty. So this could be physics professors that you learn from the classroom are doing research in the field of physics outside the classroom. Usually they're writing papers, they're doing experiments of some kind, going out in the field and doing research as well. And so by going to a research university, your professors and faculty members are normally going out and doing research out in the field alongside teaching you in the classroom too. One thing that you will probably see quite a bit when you are applying to colleges is rankings. Do they matter? A lot of students ask me this during their application process. Sometimes, but not fully. So I think one thing to know about rankings is it's really easy just to see a number associated with a college on US News and World Report. And that is what a lot of students see. That's what a lot of people see right away. But I think it's really important to take another step or a deeper step and look at more specific things about this college. So this could be, first and foremost, what are the specific programs that you're interested in? What are they ranked at the colleges that you want to apply to? This could mean if you really want to go into a journalism program and you are looking at colleges that might not be in the top 100, they could have a journalism program that is in the top 50 in the United States. And so just because it's not within that US News and World Report top 100 or top 50, they could have a program that is in that. So make sure you're doing research a little bit more on the programs that are ranked highly at different schools across the country, because sometimes they might not show up in the rankings that you Google right away or look up online right away. And then they might be really highly ranked within specific programs. So look at that a little bit closer because that can be misleading when it comes to rankings. Also, I think it's very important that students think not just about rankings, but also about value. They think about how much this education might cost. And they also think about, are they going to be happy on this campus too? Because that's important as well. So consider the cost that the college is going to be. And also, is it a place that you like? Is it a place that you think you'll feel comfortable? Because that is really important as well. And a lot of schools that are not in the top 50 or even top 100 still have really great student outcomes when it comes to what are their students who are graduating, what jobs are they getting, what are they going and doing. And that's what's really important. That is one of the biggest reasons why you are considering going to college, is to have great career opportunities. And you can still get that at many institutions across the United States, whether they are in the top 50 or the top 200. There's many great career opportunities for schools across the country. So make sure you're asking questions about that as well, about career opportunities and maybe employers that visit these schools too. And then finally, when it comes to rankings, look at some alternative rankings other than US News and World Report. I think one, such as the Times Higher Education Rankings, that is a good one to look at just to mix it up and to see different stats listed, see different reasons listed. And I think it's just good to look at multiple sources when doing research on college rankings. So to summarize this a little bit more, are they important? They can be, but I think it's more important for you to do your own personal research and to think more about program-specific rankings as well. And this was mentioned in the previous presentation a little bit, but we'll dive in a little bit more. So there's close to 4,000 colleges and universities in the United States, in all 50 states and thousands of cities. You can see some pictures at the bottom here. We have, the United States is a very large country, and it will be very different across the United States as well when it comes to environment, city size, and also cost of living. So I think it's very important for you to consider all of those aspects when you are applying to a school, just to do a little bit of research about the environment that is surrounding the school as well. There's a good chance that you will spend quite a bit of time in that environment, whether it be going to restaurants or going and doing fun things with friends outside of the classroom. So really look into areas that you think that you would be at your best and be happy going outside the classroom. You can see at the bottom of the screen here, there's universities in New York City. Obviously, that would be a much different experience than going to a university in Montana, which is in the center picture at the bottom of the screen here. And then there's big differences in environment as well. So going to college in Minnesota is going to be different than going to college in Arizona. So, you know, when you are applying to schools, think about what kind of school you would want to go to in the environment that you think you'd be at your best. And then also about job opportunities too. Are you going to be in a place where the opportunities that you want in your career, or maybe the opportunities that you think that you want outside the classroom, are they going to be there in that place too? And then finally, cost of living. This will vary quite a bit across the United States. And so think about the cost of going to school in a larger city versus maybe a smaller city too. That is going to vary quite a bit based on state. So going to school, somewhere where it's very warm in a big city is probably going to be more expensive. And if that is okay with you, then that is a good thing to know going into that application process. Okay, I've been talking a lot. I will pass it over to my colleague, Erika, to talk about selecting a major.
Perfect. Thanks, Will. So there are a lot of different things that you want to consider when selecting a major. And I know Sarah in the last presentation talked about this a little bit. So I thought I'd dive into how this works at a U.S. institution. And you would start with your bachelor's degree, a 4-year degree program. And a lot of times there are different colleges within a university that would be business, engineering, architecture, arts and sciences, agriculture sciences, things like that. And then you would select your major within, which would be specialized within these broader fields. And I think it's really important to ask yourself a lot of different questions before dedicating 4 years of your life to your education in this field, because you really will, whether you go on to graduate school afterwards or straight into a career, this is something you will be dedicating your life to most likely. So really be thinking about, what are my career goals? What excites me? What am I passionate about? And what do I excel at? Because the combination of being both excited about something and passionate about it while also excelling at it and having career goals driven around it, that's really the perfect trifecta to lead to success. And I also would like to emphasize that it is okay to not know. At this point in your life and career, it is pretty early to be deciding what you want to do with the rest of your life. And so most universities, all universities are going to have academic advisors. And so those are really going to be a great resource for you, as well as the faculty in the departments. And so if you are torn, if you are having trouble making a decision between different majors, I would highly recommend, even before, if you're just considering a university, someone like Will or I in those universities would be happy to connect you with an academic advisor or with faculty who could guide you through that process, to talk to you about the pluses and minuses of their programs and what might attract you to it. So make sure you are doing your research and figuring out what really goes into the major and the career to help pick what's best for you. You also are able to change majors if you decide after taking some courses in that field that it's not right for you. Just be careful about your graduation timeline, which is why you definitely want to work with an academic advisor throughout your time at a university to ensure you're taking the right courses to keep you on track, especially if you are on a scholarship. You really want to be considerate of that timeline to graduate. I know particularly with the Omani Ministry of Higher Education scholarships, they have become very particular about graduating within that 4-year timeline with 1 year for English if you need it. So you just have to be very careful about that. And then one other thing I wanted to point out, we get a lot of questions at recruitment events about how medical school and law school work in the United States. And those, just be cautious. These are degrees that require graduate degrees in the United States. So when you're looking to study medicine or law in the US, these are going to be degrees that require you to pursue a bachelor's degree, but then go on to apply for a graduate degree afterwards. So for medical school, this is going to be a really long process, not impossible, but it's very rigorous to apply for medical school. You have to take an exam called the MCAT, and you will, it's very, very, very competitive, and you will be dedicating another 4 years plus residencies and all of these things. So it's quite rigorous. And then law school is a little less rigorous. You would still have to take an exam called the LSAT. You would study things like pre-health or pre-law, or there are a lot of different things that you could study for your undergraduate degree to go into those graduate degrees, but just do your research on those if you're considering that in the United States, and know that it's a little different. And then things like architecture and accounting may require licensure if you're planning to practice in the United States after finishing your degree. So make sure to do a little research.
Awesome. And baseline scholarship information, there's going to be a couple different options when it comes to scholarships. And I know that we are cutting it close to time here, so we'll keep on moving along. But so merit-based scholarships are going to be primarily based upon your grades, your GPA, or test scores if you have them, or a combination of the two when you are applying. Sometimes these scholarships might be automatic, where if you put down your GPA or a test score, you might hear back from the university automatically. Sometimes there might be another process of writing an essay or submitting scores or something like that. And then might be some universities that don't have much scholarship availability and some that have quite a bit. So this will just vary a little bit based upon universities. And then program-specific scholarships, there are going to be many majors and many specific colleges on university campuses that have their own set of scholarships. So one example of this, if you want to be an engineer, then the College of Engineering at the university you would like to attend might have their own specific scholarships that are for engineering students and engineering students alone. Some of these scholarships you might not be able to apply for until your second or third year, but they're there, and it's definitely good to know about them as you are applying. And then I'll pass it back to Erika to talk a little bit about external scholarships.
Yes. So there are also external scholarships. I'm sure most of you are aware of the Omani Ministry of Higher Education scholarship and those processes. And if you're not, I'm happy to answer questions about that later on. We're running short on time, but there are also external opportunities through things like the Aga Khan Foundation, through work with Sarah at Education USA. She's a great resource in the U.S. Department of State. If you're looking at grad programs, Fulbright's a great opportunity. Occasionally, Fulbright and the Department of State will have usually short-term undergraduate opportunities, but other funded opportunities as well through there. So there definitely are external scholarships if you're looking for them, and I'm happy to serve as a resource there. So don't hesitate to reach out. And do we need to wrap up?
Yes, you can if you're done, because then we have a few questions from the audience.
Okay, perfect. So we'll wrap up. Just point out really fast that the one unique aspect of university life in the United States is just that we have a lot of different resources, support, and activities that are distinct in the United States. So a lot of different student organizations, extracurricular activities, a lot of different resources like writing centers, career services, and international student support services that I find is different from what is offered at universities in other countries. So that's a fun thing that you will find at US institutions.